another Disney podcast. My name is Amanda, and I'm here with my very lovely mother sitting across the table from me.
Hi, I'm Janette.
Today we are going to be talking about what we miss from old Disney. So what is old Disney? Old Disney is kind of things that used to be in Disney that are basically no longer there. So just things that we used to really like that have been retired, they've been changed, they closed down, whatever it may be. So now it's no longer there, and we just kind of miss it. So that's not to say that we don't love all the new things obviously going on at Disney, but just to reminisce and think about all of the stuff that went on in old Disney. All right, so we're going to count down from 10. So what is in your number 10?
My 10th one was a studio backlot tour in Hollywood Studios because, like I said, I'm not a big fan of Star Wars. So back then when we used to go to Hollywood Studios, the Hollywood Studios tour was actually very interesting, going through the movies, going through the backlots, doing the
You see a lot of the
effects.
costumes and stuff too.
Yes, I really liked that part. That's the part of Hollywood Studios I loved. So that was one of the things that I miss.
Yeah, they used to do that big water thing too. So you see it in like the stadium, and they like
see how they do
the
crashing of the thing exploding and the stuff, and it was just a really nice little thing to do in Hollywood Studios.
Yeah, for sure. So I will say, if I don't have what my mom is saying on my list, then I'll give some commentary on it. If I do, then I'm not going to say anything. Okay. Then I'll get to it on my list.
Okay.
I will say Backlot Tour was not on my list.
Not on the list. Okay.
I do miss the Backlot Tour. I did think it was really fun. It was really cool, but it was never a favorite. If I'm being honest, I just really liked it. I suppose. And if it was still there, we would probably go on it every time we were in Hollywood Studios, because it was quite interesting. I almost feel like I wish it was more though. Like I wish you got to see more costumes, like more things of how they made the movies.
Yes,
like I feel like
that's the part I really like.
I feel like it could have been more, and that it was just a very surface level. So that's kind of why I didn't have it on my list. And my number 10, this is one that I would say I wasn't going to put on my list, but I decided to because I know my brother really liked this. So I know my brother listens to the podcast sometimes, but it is Disney Quest. So
okay, I forgot about that because I didn't really do anything except
Disney Quest was a chain of indoor interactive theme parks. It opened on June 19th in 1998 and it closed July 2nd, 2017. So it was open for quite some time. And my brother was so sad when it closed because he really loved Disney Quest. So all right, I'm going to read this directly from Wikipedia. The Disney Quest project was designed as a way for the Disney brand to reach populations that may not have had the chance to travel to its various theme park destinations. It was meant to target large cities and urban areas. Had the project continued, Disney would have had plans to construct locations in many major cities in the US, like Philadelphia and Baltimore. However, only 2 locations were built, the one in Walt Disney World and a much shorter-lived one in Chicago. I thought that was interesting because I did not know they were supposed to expand.
Right. So, didn't even know. I just thought it was a place to go play the games.
Yeah,
and do
it was
the
basically
stuff.
a lot of fun, like interactive games that you'd play indoors. It had like they're all Disney-themed type of games. It had the thing where you could like build a roller coaster and like ride your own roller coaster. Right. My brother loved it. He had so much fun doing it. I liked it. I wasn't like the biggest fan of it, but I did think it was very fun, and I did think the experience of Disney Quest was unique in that sense. So because of that, I did want to put on my list because I don't think there's anything else really around in present day.
No.
Like it was kind of like a glorified arcade, but it wasn't arcade games.
Yes.
It was like these very interactive games that you would play.
Right.
That to this day I have never really seen games similar to.
No, there was. It was the
Disney
game
Quest.
show game that you went up and played like the game show, and I know there was something on a raft that we did. I mean, it was just like I did some of the stuff. I didn't do all of the stuff. A lot of times I sat and just hung out and waited and whatever. But one of the times when we were there, I had to be there, and it was just that kind of place. I think it was a great place with family, with kids.
Yeah.
Because it was a place where they did have food and some drink that you could get and sit, and a parent could go sit, and the kids could be in that complex and not go out, and they, you could feel safe that they were playing the games, and you didn't have to be right on top of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say too that the thing I didn't really like about it, that because it was all indoors, there's like no windows in there, so it really was like the casino. It was like the casino for kids. There's no windows, there's no clocks. It's like
no
it's
windows and no doors.
Yeah, it's kind of creepy to a certain extent. And like, even when I was a kid, I was like, this is weird.
Okay, you're right.
That was I think part of the reason why I didn't.
Yeah, you came back out into the sunshine and went, oh.
Yeah, I don't really like going to places where like you don't see a window for the whole time you're there. It's a bit weird. So I don't know, but Disney Quest was fun though back in the day. So all right, what's your number 9?
My number 9. You don't even know what this is. The Skyway.
Yeah, I do know what it is, but I never experienced it.
I am old enough to remember getting in those little cars and riding over and seeing everything. I mean, to us, it's like going on the People Mover now, where you can sit up there and see over.
The Skyway was in Magic Kingdom, and it was kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. It was kind of like the People Mover, but you're sitting in little buckets, kind of like the Skyliner.
It was buckets.
Right?
It was like little buckets that went on a cable.
It was like the Skyliner. So it's like, but on Magic
only
Kingdom.
Way open. It was not like closed in like the Skyliner. It was not built like the Skyliner. It was this little thing that turned around on one side or the other, went over Magic Kingdom. And at that time, there wasn't all the restrictions and the things. I'm sorry. I realized that Amanda did some history on hers. I didn't realize I didn't even do any history on mine. So I can't give you dates of when it opened, when it closed. I just remember that I was on it, and it was so cool to go across.
I know. I wish I could have seen that.
And be
'cause that would have
above
been fun.
everybody.
Yeah.
And it was all open. So like, it's like being on a
That's what I'm
Ferris
saying.
wheel.
You could like just like look out and just,
Yes,
like,
you
really
just,
see
you're
everyone
just
below
sitting there
you.
leaning
Yeah.
against it. It had a bar. I mean, obviously, these days, I guess.
There was some safety.
Yeah, I guess these days, because of what people have been doing, I guess you can't trust
people are
anybody.
crazy
But back
these
then,
days.
people just got on and followed the rules and sat back and just enjoyed it. So that was my number 9.
Yeah. No, yeah. Obviously don't have that on my list because I never experienced
Right, you never
that, but
experienced it,
I
right.
have seen photos of it and like the history of Disney stuff, and it did look really fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
So. Right. In my number 9, I have Spoodles.
Oh, Spoodles.
Spoodles was a restaurant along the boardwalk. It opened on July 1st, 1996, and it closed August 1st, 2009. It was kind of a Mediterranean, Italian type of restaurant. It was very popular at the time. It was a lot of people were very sad when it closed because then it was followed by Cucina. I don't know if I'm saying that
Yeah,
right.
yes, it was like a Greek.
Yeah, Cucina was also Mediterranean, but more with a Greek focus on it rather than Italian focus.
Yeah.
And Cucina was not a fan favorite. People didn't
No,
really
it
love
did not
it.
last very long.
So now opened instead of Cucina is Trattoria Al Forno, which we went back to the Mediterranean still, but focused again on Italian food. So kind of went back.
I think
to
the food is good. We have not eaten dinner there. We've only eaten breakfast there.
We've done breakfast, and I don't think we've ever.
I don't think we ever ate dinner there. I'm trying to think. I don't.
The breakfast is good. I like breakfast. at
Breakfast is
Trattoria Al
good.
Forno.
From what I hear, I don't think it's gotten. It's not the food is not as good as what the first one was, Spoodles.
Yeah.
But it is. People like it, and we like it for breakfast. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So my distinct memories of Spoodles that back in the day when I was a child, you used to be able to get the Mickey-shaped pasta in the restaurant.
In the restaurant.
Then for a few years, they kind of did not do the Mickey-shaped pasta in restaurants like the kids menu. I think now some restaurants are bringing it back.
going
though.
back, yeah.
But I remember in Spoodles going there and we had dinner, had my Mickey-shaped pasta. We ordered dessert, but then I remember because it's my birthday, my parents had told them it was my birthday. And I know a lot of people hate when the restaurant sings to you for your birthday. Well, you would have hated this, y'all, because they had the whole restaurant sing happy birthday to me, not just like the wait staff. They had the whole restaurant like stop their eating and sing happy birthday to me. I was like such a small child too. That it was actually so fun though. They like turned the lights down too, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Like, it
they
was
made a
whole
big
thing.
production. They really
Yeah,
did.
and they gave me this huge cupcake with a candle and everything. But that's why I wanted it on this list because I distinctly remember that. And it was
Okay.
so crazy that it's like the whole restaurant lights dimmed. And it's like, can you imagine they did that for every birthday that they had? It's like,
definitely.
yeah, kind of dramatic for just one person's birthday.
one birthday, but they did it
I
up.
do remember though. And
Yeah.
even at the time when I was a kid, that was my favorite restaurant, which is crazy. So, that happened at my favorite restaurant. But yeah, now most people would hate being sung happy birthday too.
Yeah, we don't do anything. I don't even want to know when it's
Yeah,
my
even
birthday
me.
to
It's like
begin
kind of
with,
awkward
right?
when
Yeah.
they sing it to you, especially when you're an adult. It's kind of
Yeah,
weird
when you're an adult, you don't want
but-
anybody doing that. But as a kid, it was,
But it was so exciting though. So I do
Yeah.
remember that. I did love Spoodles. So R.I.P. Spoodles.
just a little other memory about your birthday. If you remember being in the Mexican pavilion,
Yeah, I did in
where we-
Mexico, too.
We
But that
tended,
was just the
we
waiters,
tended
though.
to go at that time of year.
We went a lot during the Easter break
Yeah,
and my birthday.
they made you a little hat out of the napkin and everything. You put it on
I
your
remember
head and
feeling
sang happy
embarrassed
birthday.
on that one because I was a little bit older when we did Mexico,
Yeah.
but that was just the wait staff. They didn't have the whole
No,
Mexican
the
pavilion.
wait staff came and sang, and they sang it part in Spanish and part
Spanish,
in English. So it was, and they made her a hat out of the napkin and stuff. She was not happy.
Yeah. All right, what is in your number 8?
Oh, my number 8. Okay, wait, I have to find my number 8. Is Maelstrom.
Mail store. Okay.
The Maelstrom in Norway. It was fun. It was a cute little ride. You went through. It did what it did. It was fun. It was exciting. Especially the first time you go on it when it went backwards and went down the hill and the troll came up and stuff. And I actually even liked sitting to watch the movie. You'll see that at the end of that ride, a lot of people used to walk right through the auditorium and keep on going. Once or twice we did that when we were in a hurry. But actually, I loved sitting there and actually seeing the movie about
Yeah, like
Finland
how they build the
how they
large
built up and the
ships
different cultures, about how it's like, all the modern and the business, and then the rest of it, that's all that quaint little, life that people still have. And I actually enjoyed sitting there and watching that movie. So I miss that ride. I miss going on the ride and going through and
Yeah, for
relaxing and seeing that.
Yeah, for sure. All right, in my number 8, I have Food Rocks. So Food Rocks was a show that used to be in the land in Epcot. It opened on March 26, 1994 and closed January 3rd, 2004 in order for Soarin' to be built. It was called a musical stage show with animatronic figures. And again, this is directly from Wikipedia. I'm not going to link all this because I kid you not, just Google the Wikipedia and this is just copy and paste from Wikipedia.
Right.
The show is themed as a benefit concert for good nutrition hosted by a food rapper who is voiced by real-life rapper Tone Loc. However, that show was continually interrupted by The Excess, a junk food heavy metal band that detests nutrition. And in the end, The Excess lost power as rapper explained, "No power, you guys have been unplugged. There's plenty of foods out there that are good to eat, but remember, always eat in moderation." So I just thought this show was so much fun. It played a lot of like classic
It was,
rock hits,
yes, classic rock.
but like with like food themes on top of it. Like they changed the lyrics to be food themes.
Right.
And I just remember when I was a kid, kid, I loved it. I thought it was so fun. I thought it was so funny. I remember too sitting in the audience eating like a big lollipop and being like junk food's bad for you, as in like eating this gigantic like rainbow lollipop and being like, well,
too bad.
It kind of turns you off from junk food to a certain extent, but but I just remember the show being a lot of fun though. I always really liked it. So
7?
Yeah, what's your number 7?
Circle of Life show in the land.
Okay, yeah.
I missed that.
Yeah.
It was a funny little show about Timon and Pumbaa, who they want to build this village and they want to block the water coming down the river.
Well, Timon really wants to build
Timon wants to build this, he's jumping all over the place.
Condo apartment
yes,
type
condo
thing.
apartments.
Yeah.
We're going to have this, and this. But in order to do that, they would have to block the river coming down river. And, Pumbaa's kind of, telling him, I don't know.
Like Simba comes in and says.
Right. Simba comes in and says, how could you do that? Look at this. And he shows them everything. I have to say, it's a cute little show. Show is great. I got to tell you what I miss. The beginning and the end. Yeah. Because they sweep over just that view of the animals and the thing. And at the end, they sweep through again and show all the animals, the the wildebeest running or the giraffes. It's like almost being on Soarin', but sitting still of doing it. And it's not in a big 3D, and at the end, it just hits and it just circle of life. And it just that noise at the end, that whatever that
like booming sound.
Yes. Whatever that sound was at the end when they stopped, it was just to me, it was like, oh my God. And like I said again, because it came out right after my father died and he always wanted to be on a safari, all I could think of the first time I ever saw it was my father would die to see this because it was so close. Mm-hmm. So people like me who are never going to Africa get to see that so up close. And that I miss it.
No, Circle of Life was really good. It was replaced by another show about like the planet and planet conservation. Okay. Yeah, we watched it. It's very much for, I mean, like I don't say this as a judgment. I just say it as a fact. It's very much for children, I would say. Like when you watch it, the way the language, how they speak in it, it's like, oh, this is for children to understand what Earth conservation is important. So we don't watch the new show. It's not bad, but it's not my favorite. It's okay. Though. In my number 7, I have the El Rio del Tiempo, which was the River of Time boat ride that was previously part of the Mexico Pavilion. It has now been replaced by the Grand Fiesta Tour
like the
with
old
the 3
one,
Caballeros. So this ride was open from 1982 to 2007. Again, the ride is still there. It is essentially the same, if I'm being really honest.
Yes, I didn't even think of that because to me the ride is still there. They just changed it a little bit.
Yeah, it is essentially the same. Very little has changed about it. Instead, now it's just hosted by the 3 Caballeros. Right. Whereas before it had a little bit more of like the ancient Mexico theme to it. Now it has kind of like the more cartoony, fun theme. Yes. But you still see all the same things. Like you still see the woman on the boats with the flowers. Like you still see, the sites that are in Mexico. You still see like all the same things are kind of still there. Just changed. There's a slightly different overlay.
That's why I didn't think of it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I did love that ride when I was a kid. Like in 2007, that was like my whole childhood was going on that ride. And before too, when you kind of get to the end of the ride, there was these 3 screens that would have like these 3 salespeople, I guess you call them, trying to sell you stuff, and in front of them would be all this Mexico, like just just like random stuff that
they're wares.
But it wasn't like
right. I've been to Mexico. Yeah, Amanda's not been to Mexico. I've been to Mexico, and a lot of their wares are all of that touristy stuff.
Yeah, it was like all the
blankets and the sombreros and the little maracas and the paper flowers and stuff that is like the touristy little things that you say, okay, that's not the real stuff. The real stuff is their jewelry and their pottery and their
things that are actually part of their culture, not like the touristy junk that they're selling you
junk. They had
like,
those
this is
floats.
A stereotypical
with the little sequins on them and stuff.
Yeah, but I remember that scene a lot, and I always loved that scene because I thought it was always really fun.
As you're riding along, they're running along with you.
Yeah, and then that is not taken away. Instead, now it's a scene with like Donald Duck. It's just a little bit different as well, but it's still fun. Obviously, I still love the Grand Fiesta Tour.
Yeah, we still do it all the time.
But I did love the El Rio del Tiempo. Okay. All right, what is your number 6?
My Little Mermaid in Hollywood Studios, the Little Mermaid show. I actually, because we love Little Mermaid, and I've always loved the Caribbean theme. So going in there and sitting in there, and when they used to make you the Little Mermaid show, anybody who's been there knows that they make you feel like you're under the sea. The way they do things on the ceiling and around the walls, and how it's painted and how it's done. Some of it is like the picture, and some of it is actually
I love the
stage.
Ursula puppet that they have.
Yes, it comes out on
Ursula
the stage.
Puppet. That was amazing.
So they mixed in the actual movie with I just loved it. It was just a great place, especially Hollywood Studios tends to be a very hot, very not like very breezy park. So it's a lot of stone, a lot of stuff that's not very tropical, not very thing. And you went into the show and you sat down and it was cool and it was refreshing and you got to see all the Little Mermaid stuff and listen to Sebastian talk, which I love to do. So I missed that ride.
Yeah, no, I do love that show. I wonder if they'll ever reopen it because it's technically still there.
It's been closed for a while.
And the outdoor facade is still there, but it just has not reopened, especially since after COVID. But I did love it a lot. I feel like they may have to redo the theater or something because the theater was real old.
It was
like,
old,
you sit in
but
those
yeah.
seats and you're just like, oh, this is a well-loved seat.
Yes.
So, but the show was amazing. And I remember, just the Poor Unfortunate Souls with that huge Ursula puppet was just incredible. I loved that one so much. That was not on my list, but I did like that show a lot. And we're on 6, right? And my number 6, that's where I have Maelstrom. I also was a huge fan of Maelstrom as well. It opened on July 5th, 1988, and it closed October 5th, 2014 in order for Frozen Ever After to replace it. I do like Frozen Ever After.
I
know
too.
some people love Frozen Ever After.
It's okay.
I think the problem with me is that as much as I love Frozen, Frozen is not my favorite Disney movie. Elsa and Anna are not my favorite Disney princesses, and that's just, the way it goes. We all have our favorites, but that one's just not it. So because of that, the Frozen ride is just not my favorite. Just what happens. Originally, Maelstrom was actually going to be called Sea Venture, and everything was set for it to be called Sea Venture, and then apparently like last minute it got changed to Maelstrom, which I thought was interesting.
Which I thought was good because it really did encompass.
Yeah, and I just loved the ride too. I thought it was so fun. I thought it was really interesting. That is really what sparked my love for Norway. It's like even now, my present day, I've always said like Norway is one of my
I know, because they make you want
to go.
The movie made you want to go there.
Yeah, and the ride too itself, just seeing like all the things like in Norway, I loved seeing it. I remember specifically like this part when you go backwards. When you go backwards, all the animatronics show up, and then at one point you kind of turn and there's this huge polar bear on its hind legs.
Oh,
kind
right,
of, like,
seeing the
looking
polar
at
bear
you.
up close.
So
right?
it's not really scary, I would say, but it was definitely like a little jump. It's like, oh wow, look at that huge,
little puffin sitting there.
Yeah, so I do remember it, and I did love it a lot. It was so much fun.
I miss it. Yeah.
I do love Maelstrom. Again, Frozen After is great too, but yeah, I think I like Maelstrom a little bit better. All right, what is your number 5?
The Millennium Parade at Epcot.
Okay, yeah.
That one was really fun because it came out at night, and in the middle of like going through usually we get to the countries later on because that's usually where we eat, that's usually where we hang out at night. And when we'd go through and you're sort of at that point where you're waiting for the fireworks to go on and you're kind of doing this and that Millennium Parade was really great.
Yeah, so that parade was actually called the Tapestry of Nations.
Oh, okay.
That was
I
the
call it the
official
Millennium
name.
Parade. Okay, Tapestry of
But
Nations.
that's when it came out, was around the millennium.
I would
That's
assume
why
it's
she
probably on your list
associates it.
somewhere.
Yeah.
So I know you probably have something on it, but so I don't have all the history of it and when it started, whatever. But I have to tell you that it was just really entertaining to watch. It was a short parade too. It came out from the countries and went around, and it wasn't a very long thing, but it was very entertaining, very visual.
Yeah.
And I really, really liked it.
And again, that was part of the whole Millennium celebration going on in
Right.
Epcot at the time, but it was officially called Tapestry of Nations.
Right. So I really liked it.
All right, in my number 5, I have the Enchanted Tiki Room under new management.
Oh, okay.
Don't get me wrong, I love the current Enchanted Tiki Room. I love the flower song. When the flowers sing, that is one of my favorite songs, honestly, ever. I love that flower song so much.
Funny is that didn't make my list. And
But yeah, the
that
Enchanted...
should be my number 1.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah.
The Enchanted Tiki Room under new management was basically the Tiki Room, but Iago from Aladdin and Zazu from The Lion King were there, and they're basically kind of they made like a little funny, more comedic show about it. So Iago wanted to redo the show to make the show more modern and fit like a more modern audience, and Zazu and the other birds were like, no, like you can't do that. Like you have to stick to the core. You have to think of like the
funny how it didn't
gods,
even dawn on me.
everything. The show had opened in April 5th, 1998, and then it closed January 12th, 2011. There was a lot of backlash for this show. A lot of people did not like this show, which is funny because it was open for a really long time.
Yeah, it was.
It was open for over 10 years in Magic Kingdom, considering so many people generally disliked it.
Right.
But I used to love it. Again, 1998, that was, even after I was born, but my whole childhood, that's what I remembered of the Tiki Room. So when they changed it back to the original Tiki Room, I thought the original Tiki Room was a bit boring. I was like, wait, but there's no storyline. There's like, they're just singing to you,
It's very pretty and very, but it's not as exciting as the other
But
one.
then we get the flower song though, because the flower song.
Oh yeah, you like the
wasn't
flower
with-
song.
with Iago and
Too bad they couldn't
Zazu.
put that flower song in the other one.
Yeah,
Okay.
the flower song is my favorite. But yeah, it was just a very funny show. It kind of brought more like Disney to the show in itself, which is kind of ironic in a way that now more rides are adding Disney characters, like the Three Caballeros added the
And they took it out of
characters.
there.
Then this one, they took out the characters. Some people too said that they were critical of how Iago was portrayed in the show, of saying like how Iago was a bit arrogant and rude in the show, even though that's kind of how he is
I
in the
hate
movie
to say it,
too.
but that's how he is in the movie.
Yeah, but they painted him in a very poor light,
Well,
and I was like, that's
I
kind of his
hate-
personality. But
Disney changes things here, there, and everywhere, and I guess they just felt it was time.
yeah, no, for sure. But I did like that show a lot, and I do miss it. So, all right, what's your number 4?
My number 4 was Food Rocks. So
Rocks,
you did
yeah.
that. Food Rocks was so much fun because especially, when you're tired and it was fun. And of course, all the music was my music. I mean, they changed it to have different lyrics, but
It's
in
one of
your
those things
mind.
when I was a kid, I didn't know that was like real music. I
No,
thought like that
yeah.
was the music from Food Rocks.
Yeah, she was looking at it from that way, but I'm looking at it, you're sitting here listening to classic kind of music, and and having this thing entertain you, and the kids were having a great time. So if the kids are having a great time and you're sitting in this theater where it's nice and cool and nice and fun, and it was really just, and it was a small theater too. It wasn't a very big theater. It was just very much fun. So I know you went over all the details. So, but that was my number 4.
No, I did like Food Rocks a lot. And my number 4, I have Tarzan Rocks, which is
okay.
kind of funny. They had a lot of shows with rocks in it. If you think about it, like this thing rocks. So Tarzan Rocks replaced Journey into the Jungle Book. It opened on July 9th, 1999, and then it closed January 21st, 2006, and has now been replaced by Finding Nemo the musical. So that's what's currently in that theater. Right. Tarzan Rocks was such a fun show. It had a lot of like acrobatics. Yeah, a lot of acrobatics in the show in itself, and that's why I think I liked it, because that's kind of why I like the current Festival of the Lion King. There's a lot of acrobatics in that show, and Tarzan had the same thing. I mean, like, of course, the man swings on a rope. You know, it's like that takes a lot of like upper body strength and core strength in order to do that. Right. But lots of the people who play the animals in that show too were all swinging around. Like, obviously had all the Phil Collins music in it, so it was very fun in that sense. It tells the story of Tarzan, which is just kind of a fun story. So I just remember seeing that show and just always really liked it. We were sad when it closed, and I do like Finding Nemo the musical, but I would say that one is not
much as the other one.
Which is kind of funny because I probably like Finding Nemo better as a movie than Tarzan, but I do like the musical a lot as well. But I just Tarzan again. I just love the acrobatics in Tarzan, and obviously Finding Nemo is more of a puppet-driven show. Right. So, what is your number 3?
My number 3 was The Great Movie Ride.
Oh, that's also my number 3.
Oh,
that's
wow.
So funny.
Okay. So we're doing number 3 together now.
Yeah.
Number 3 is The Great Movie Ride. Loved it. Just loved everything about it. Loved going through it. Loved, some of the scenes that were in it. And then my favorite part of it was when you got to the end and they pull up and that montage, screen in front of you does all of the movies back from like the 50s all the way through, the black and white shots, the regular shots, scenes from the movie, the favorite scenes from the movies.
But just like a quick second of like the most famous moments in movies.
Of each movie. And it was just
so amazing.
Sitting there and seeing them. Your mind is moving so quickly, but your mind is at the same time, as soon as that thing flashes up, it's bringing back memories of that 1 second that they're showing you those clips. Your mind is running in it. You're seeing all these movies that remind you of Disney and things that you watched and
like history.
Yes. And I love that ride.
No, I love The Great Movie Ride as well. It opened on May 1st, 1989, and it closed August 13th, 2017 in order for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway to open. The attraction employed the use of audio animatronic figures, practical sets, live actors, special effects, and projections to recreate iconic scenes from 12 classic films throughout motion picture history. And it really did. It's like you'd have like a little, you'd have a cast member in the front that kind of like took you on like the tour, so to speak, and then they had like a whole, it was staged, of course, but the whole thing where like they'd be kidnapped and then they would like touch the thing and the kind of like the Indiana Jones thing, and they would disappear.
Disappear.
Yeah, and then you'd be taken over by the swashbuckling person, and but it was so immersive. It was so cool. I loved The Great Movie Ride so much, and we were all so sad to see it go. But it is so hard though, because I love Mickey and Minnie's Runaway
loves
Railway.
Mickey and Minnie's
That is
Railway.
literally my favorite ride in all of Disney World.
I like it. Can't say it's my favorite ride.
In a perfect world, the two of them would exist side
together
by side, because I do miss The Great Movie Ride greatly. And again, I wish, in a perfect world, we'd have the Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway in a Toontown in Magic Kingdom, and The Great Movie Ride would have stayed
in Hollywood Studios. That would be the best thing. But
that is my version of the perfect
like
world.
I said, Disney changes things, and people are different. People coming and going. People grow up. The age, the media, everything takes its part. So
and some of those movies were
old.
They're starting to become outdated. I would say
some of the kids were probably going through, what is this?
Yeah, they wouldn't recognize it, which is kind of crazy if you think about that. But just the way it goes sometimes with life. One of my favorite scenes always was the Wizard of Oz scene, because that was the one where like all the I guess like the little, what do they call them?
Munchkins.
Not the Munchkins. When you're all in like the big car together, all the cars of like the kind of tour would all lead up, so it'd be multiple cars kind of in the same room together. Yeah. And it was a huge scene when you were in the Wizard of Oz room. I thought that scene was really fun. I used to be really scared of the alien scene.
I pat my head down. Yeah, I'm not an alien person.
When I was a kid, I used to. I mean, like it took me until I was into my adult years to open my eyes finally and look at the alien scene, because I used to just hide, because I used to get really scared during that scene. And there was another scene too that had mummies in it as well. I can't remember what movie it was.
Indiana Jones.
No, not that
had
one.
The
There's
snakes
a different one. No, I'm not scared of snakes though. There's another one that I can't remember. It happened right after, I think, the Tarzan scene. Actually, I don't remember now. But alrighty, a quick Wikipedia search says that the next film genre introduced are horror films, as the ride vehicle goes through an ancient burial chamber full of mummies, some of which have come to life. And then after that scene was the Tarzan scene, so I switched it when my mom and I were filming. But it doesn't say what film it was. It just says like a general horror scene with mummies, but that's the scene I was talking about. I love the great movie ride, though. We'll always miss it. All right, what is your number 2? We're down to the
My
last
number
2.
2 was Tarzan Rocks.
Tarzan, yeah.
Because I got to tell you, I love Phil Collins. I mean,
Yeah.
the music for Tarzan is what gets me. Like you said, the movie's good, but the music just gets me. When we did that, the first time we went to see it, I mean, like she said, so athletic. Guys on rollerblades came out from behind us in 4 different spots of the theaters and were doing tricks on rollerblades. I mean, it was constant. Yeah. It was constant motion. Mm-hmm. You didn't sit 1 minute and say, okay, we're waiting for the next scene to come in. They were just constant motion. I gave them credit because these guys were good. Mm-hmm. And I really, really enjoyed Tarzan Rocks.
I remember it too. It was such a good show.
Yeah.
And again, that's not to say the Finding Nemo musical is bad. I do
no,
like
not
Finding
different.
Nemo.
And like I said, the Lion King show is nice too if you want to see something like that. But I got to tell you, Tarzan Rocks, I just sorry they took that away.
Yeah, no, for sure. Mm-hmm. All right, in my number 2, I have the Osborne Family Spectacular of Dancing Lights.
Yeah.
So this opened in 1995 and it had its last run in 2016, but technically I would say like the Christmas season of 2015 into 2016. And it closed because that is where Galaxy's Edge currently is.
Yes.
So again, taken directly from Wikipedia, Osborne, so Disney had offered for the lights because again, the Osborne Family Spectacular Lights wasn't a Disney thing. It was the Osborne family. It started in Little Rock in Arkansas. And a lot of neighbors really didn't like it because they're so bright, so annoying, obviously. So Disney had offered to bring the lights to Disney. And Osborne was intrigued by the offer, but initially understood that Disney wanted to put the display on another residential street in Orlando. And then what actually was being offered was to install the display on, in quotes, a residential street, a backlot section at Disney's Hollywood Studios, which was at the time Disney MGM Studios. And so Osborne was a fan of the resort itself, and realizing that the display would be in the actual park, not like in an actual residential area, Osborne accepted the offer. So in 1995, his display was moved, and it was then moved onto, in quotes, it's called Residential Street as the Osborne Family Spectacular of Lights, and it became an immediate success. It was so incredible. I have never to this day seen a light show like that. It's like you're just fully surrounded by little sparkling lights.
The displays.
Every 10 minutes there'd be Christmas music that would play, so you'd see all this Christmas music that would play around you, so it's like you could just stand there and just admire it. It was just so phenomenal when it was there.
It's like going to, like, we go to all the little Christmas things like at the zoos and the parks that put them up and you ride through or you walk through, whatever. Take those and put them on steroids, and that's what this was.
It was so incredible. It's like,
just,
again, I have not seen a light show to this day that is even similar to it.
That was good.
Apparently the Osborne family still owns all of the lights, but it's not currently on display anywhere in the world, which is, I don't know where they would put it, if I'm being honest. I feel like they have to have someone, again, to sponsor, to set it up somewhere. Right. Just electricity alone to run that show would be incredible. But I just remember that from my childhood, just like walking around and seeing it and just being so fascinated by it, so beautiful, so amazing. And I do miss it. And I will say, I love Galaxy's Edge. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. If you listen to other podcasts, you know that. And I didn't realize that originally, like when they take certain things down and put other things up, like where the space goes, I guess. It's like when I realized that, I was like, oh, that's where it was. And like, well, that's really sad actually that they had to take this away. But I do miss it. I'll always think about the Osborne Family Spectacular Dancing Lights.
Like I said, there's so many things too that as I'm thinking, I was like, oh my God, and I forgot this and I forgot that. There's other things other than 10.
Yeah,
I mean,
for
obviously.
Sure, yeah, it's hard to narrow it down, honestly. All right, for our number ones now, is yours Pleasure Island?
Yes. Well, now it's a tie between Tiki Birds and Pleasure Island because, in my mind, because Tiki Birds is still there, it did not dawn on me. Yeah. Like even with the Mexican, it did not dawn on me when I was doing this because, like I said, I don't do the research like Amanda. I sit here and go, oh, what do you think? It did not dawn on me that in my mind, I liked the older one. I think it was more exciting. I think it had more. It had
more of a storyline. That you're watching a show more because now they just sing you a few 4 songs.
Yeah,
which is fun. I love it.
And if you're not mistaken, when you're sitting there, some people are like, oh, okay. When they're coming out, they're like, oh, okay. Like it's like okay, the birds are singing, the flowers are singing.
When my partner saw it, he said he was almost waiting for something to happen. Yes. He was like, what's supposed to happen? I'm like, this is the show.
This is the show.
Sing to you, which is very entertaining. I love all the music, of course.
Right.
But that's the show.
Right. But the old one, like I said, was more intense. So it's a tie between that and Pleasure Island.
Yeah.
Amanda obviously is too young to have been to Pleasure Island. And as an adult, I miss Pleasure Island. Not that I don't think that Disney Springs is absolutely wonderful. There is a lot going on, a lot to do, a lot here, a lot there. But Pleasure Island was, you would go there, you would pay your fee and go in, and there were like 6 or 7 clubs. Like I said, I did not get the details, but there were like 6 or 7 clubs. They were all different themes. Like one of them was called the Adventure Club. That's where I think the one that we go to, the Spunk, it'll come to me. But anyway, the Adventure Club.
The Edison?
The Edison. Okay, thank you. The Adventure Club was actually an African like private club. So they would the characters inside were dressed like African, like people on a safari in the old days with the hats and the jackets and the belts and the things and like when you see people, the African costumes. And you would be sitting at the bar and there'd be music playing. They had a dance floor and you could dance. You could order drinks. Okay, you had to pay for your drinks, obviously. That wasn't free. But the music's playing. You could dance. You could do it. And they'd come and sit at the bar next to you and they'd talk to you like as if you were in Africa and you were on an old safari.
Yeah, it was like an immersive experience.
Yes. Then you'd go to the next place and it was a disco and they'd be playing disco music and all this kind of stuff and what going on. And there was some shops and there was some places to get food and places to get drinks and whatever. And every night was New Year's Eve. They'd have a band on a stage at the end of the Pleasure Island. So every night a band played on that stage, a show on that stage. And at midnight they would shoot off the fireworks.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah.
So it was midnight. They called it midnight every night.
Yeah.
So there was a big party, big New Year's Eve party every night at the end of Pleasure
That's
Island.
fun. I like that.
So my attitude is now I would be like, I really want to go there. Like I really want to go back there and sit in the club and make believe I'm in Africa and talking to somebody who's been on a safari or go to the disco and listen to all the tunes for the disco and whatever the other bar was that we went to and I mean, it was fun.
Yeah.
And I do miss it. Not that I don't like Pleasure Island, but being
Disney Springs.
Yes, it is. Well, Disney Springs. It's really great, really nice, really lots of stuff, but not Pleasure Island. Pleasure Island was a one-of-a-kind kind of thing to do.
No, for sure. I feel like one day we should do an episode on like more deep dives into these old Disney things.
Yeah.
Like maybe we could do a whole
All the
deep dive
details.
into
Pleasure Island and figure out what the clubs were and what they did and how
we'll
they
do that. Maybe
yeah.
we'll do a whole one into like Disney Quest, for instance, because there's a lot to Disney Quest, honestly, that we could really talk about.
Yeah.
And another one we could maybe do was the whole Millennium Celebration, because that was my number one, was the Tapestry of Nations Parade. I recognize I was very young when this came out. I was born in 1996, and this parade was from 1999 to 2001. So I realized there's only like 4 or 5 when this was really out. But the fact that I remember it, like I have memories of these puppets that were in the parade, is just, I think what speaks to how amazing this parade really was.
Yes, they put a lot of work into that parade.
Yes, so this is taking directly again from Wikipedia. The Tapestry of Nations was a parade at the Epcot theme in Disney World that ran around the World Showcase Lagoon from 1999 to 2001, and then it was rethemed as the Tapestry of Dreams. The Tapestry of Dreams was essentially the same parade but a little bit smaller, and that ran until 2003. So technically it ran until 2003, sort of. The parade had a unity and world peace theme and featured a variety of large puppets and massive rotating drum units with drummers dressed like kings. The puppets were designed by Michael Curry, who also designed the puppets for The Lion King on Broadway and a variety of Disney theme park shows. The leader of the parade was the Sage of Time, or better known as Father Time, who was represented on a stilt walker, an elaborate costume featuring alchemy symbols, gold trim on a white robe featuring the Roman numerals MM for 2000, a staff, and a headpiece resembling a sun with a face. And all the characters in this parade were like that, all characters walking on stilts with these exquisite costumes and
they put like so much work into it.
It was so incredible. And again, I just think stilt walkers are just amazing in general.
Oh yeah, they can go that far too. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it's crazy to think this, like Epcot used to have a parade, and most people don't always remember it because it was, again, only a few years it ran.
It was only a few years and you had to be there when it was on and stop to see it, as opposed to running to go to a ride or running to do something else. Yeah.
And I guess too, some people don't really like masked masks, it's like some people like masks are a bit creepy, because you can't see the person's face, and it
was really, I mean, it was always at night when it was dark.
Yes, yeah. So this is, I did mention that. Yeah, it was a nighttime parade. So again, there would be a lot of lights and stuff,
which made it even more impressive because, as they usually do with parades, they would lower the lights around it and tell everybody to be careful, obviously. But it was just impressive when you saw it in the dark.
So maybe we'll do a whole deep dive episode into the Tapestry of Nations and how they celebrated like the millennium, because I think it is really interesting. And again, things that like maybe we'll do a whole segment here on the podcast just diving into like old things from Disney or something, because there was so much about this parade.
Like I said, there's so many things
podcast.
As we're talking, I'm saying to myself, oh yeah, I remember this, I remember that. Yeah.
No, for sure. But the fact that I remember I was only like 5 years old when this parade was on is just crazy though. But that was just how much I really liked it. And again, Epcot's always been my favorite park. So I mean, of course, my number one was gonna be something from Epcot. So but that was our some of the top things that we missed from, I say old Disney, but just things that are no longer in Disney anymore. They've just been upgraded or changed, or
what they are is a Disney memory.
Yeah, no, for sure. But the number one thing I wish they would bring back, I do love the Great Movie Ride. I do think about that a lot, especially now that we see the success of Toontown and Disneyland in California and how well the Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway fits in with that Toontown. I'm like, that's what we should have here in Florida.
Amanda needs to talk to them and find out what they were thinking.
Yeah, I know. Well, the thing is, though, they didn't know it was going to be such a success. Like, I realized that. It's like
but even the theming should have been,
Yeah, they're taking a gamble on something.
Right.
They didn't know if it was going to be good or not.
I would think that the space and the tracks that they had to just replace and do, and the way that it went through that gave them something that they didn't have to completely rebuild.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's like the space for the ride is quite large if you think about it. And obviously it took them years to build this ride. And it opened right before COVID. Literally March of 2020 is when Mickey and Minnie's Runaround Railway opened. So yeah, great timing. So a lot of people did not get to enjoy it until way after. But yeah, no, I do miss all these things, honestly. I really miss. I wish they could all live in tangent with each other. Yeah, so that was all of our things. We'll probably do another episode of even just maybe listing again, doing deep dives. So. Okay. All right, so now we'll transition into some Disney news. We didn't have any Disney news last week because this is a pre-recorded episode, so some of this Disney news is a bit more outdated. There's also been a lot more Disney news that came out last week, all from the D23 Expo. So all of that Disney news from the D23 will be in next week's podcast. So sorry that is not in this week's podcast. But yeah, but as we said, we do pre-record our episodes. So unfortunately, when we were recording this, D23 had not happened yet. So all of that good stuff will be talked about next week. But the first up is there is a new Tiki Room cup and dip bowl now at Trader Sam's. I wanted to mention this because there's often like souvenir cups at places, but not souvenir dip bowls, which I thought was quite unique.
So you're ordering dip and then they're sending it, the bowl goes home with you.
Yeah, you can take the little bowl with you. Yeah, so it's very cute. It's a little matching set. It's very, I thought it was interesting. So I was like, I haven't really seen the dip bowls, but yeah, you see souvenir cups all the time. So there's also a lot of new merchandise in the parks for the fall and Halloween season. I honestly can't even go through it all because there's so much going on right now. But if you just look on any other Instagram, lots of new merchandise going on. A lot of it is so cute though. The Journey of Water sneak peeks are up on many of the popular Disney Instagram accounts and blogs. It looks really fun, very interactive. It looks like that there will be little signs along as you walk along to say like, oh, put your hand over this and then the water will shoot up, or like wave your hand like this and then the water will like move around or something like that. So that's what a lot of people are saying, that you can really just walk through it if you want. Like you don't have to interact with anything if you don't want to, or you can choose to. So it's kind of up to you how you want to interact with all the Moana things. All right, Fall into Magic at Disney Springs has started. It's basically just the fall themed decor around Disney Springs, but they just title it Fall into Magic. Not really sure why. Although they have a lot of like themed and Halloween themed treats right now, such as the new Haunted Mansion cone in Disney Springs.
That looked good.
It does look really cool. It's a dark purple and like lime green Dole Whip with like a little thing on top for like the Haunted Mansion characters on like a black cone. It like looks really cool, honestly. But Disney Springs is really stepping up their game because some of the coolest like treat items like that are in Disney Springs, which is crazy because you think it'd be in like Magic Kingdom, but it's not. So yeah, so a lot of fun stuff going on in Disney Springs. And again, everyone can go to Disney Springs. You don't have to pay to go to Disney Springs.
Well, that's what I mean. Like I said, it's not that Disney Springs is bad. It just missed Pleasure Island. Yeah. Too bad they couldn't have built it right next door.
And the last thing for Disney news, which is crazy because we just did a podcast episode on Morocco a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I saw that.
And we were talking about Marrakesh and like what they were going to do in Marrakesh. And now the Florida Blue Lounge is now open at the location where the restaurant Marrakesh was. So it's open from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. It's basically just like an indoor lounge that's air conditioned, lots of chairs and tables. And because it is sponsored by a very popular insurance company, it has a lot of medical things in there as well. So if you're getting overheated, if maybe your kid's not really feeling well, it's kind of like a pseudo medical tent there. But again, I'm assuming you can bring food in there too and just like eat food if you want to in there or something.
A while back, remember when we went last time?
Yeah.
They had something like that back there that wasn't like open. Is this open to everybody?
This is open now to everyone, yeah.
A while back, if you remember, I had to get an app that said that you had to have the app on your phone.
Yes, I remember that.
Be able to get in. We just never did it.
Maybe that was like a soft launch or something like that.
I think it was, because now that you just mentioned this, I'm saying to myself, oh my God, that's exactly what we had. I had the app on my phone for a while. When we got there, it just didn't fit into our schedule. We never got past there or did anything like that. And that's what that is. That must have, like you said, it must have been a soft opening.
Yeah, it must have been a soft launch to see if it was going to be successful. So so now it's just an indoor lounge, but it still looks the same. Like you can still see all the beautiful Moroccan hand-painted tiling.
That would be cool. We have to stop in there.
And things. Yeah, I would love to just walk around just to see like the beauty of like the architecture and the tiling. And obviously it's air conditioned, so it's nice, just to get out of the sun.
Just getting out of the sun.
Yeah. So I mean, like again, Morocco's one of my favorite pavilions. My cat's name is Morocco after that pavilion. So yeah, but that is just some Disney news for this week. Again, this is pre-recorded, so I do apologize if some of this Disney news is a bit more outdated. But that transitioned us into our Disney birthdays. So today, the day that this podcast is coming out, September 18th, is Launchpad McQuack's birthday. So happy birthday to Launchpad McQuack. He needs some DuckTales. I have seen Launchpad McQuack in Animal Kingdom before. I think you still can see him sometimes in Animal Kingdom. Yeah, he was.
He's the guy that tapped her on her shoulder and said, I like your jacket.
Yeah, he's wearing a gold jacket, like a fully like bright Michael Kors gold jacket. And yeah, he came over and he told me he liked my jacket, which is really funny.
Stopped him.
Yeah, that's Launchpad McQuack though. So yeah, so happy birthday to him. And today, September 18th, is also my manager at my actual job's birthday. So happy birthday to my manager.
Well,
if he ever listens to this. I don't think he ever does listen to the podcast. But today's also his birthday. So all right, and that leaves us into our Disney memory. So do you have a Disney memory?
My Disney memory is actually actually about the Millennium Parade. And as a mother, it was just funny how, when they say they have these parades, they always have these, parades that come here, go there. Like I said, we'd watch parades, but never been really a fan. And the first time we saw that, the faces on, you and Luke
just
were like,
incredible, yeah.
oh my God. It was just so mesmerizing because of the colors and the whites and the golds.
And the fact they're on stilts, so they're so tall,
Yes.
so not like human
And
tall.
as a mother, it's just the best part is to see the reaction of what you saw for that parade. And that's probably what I was saying is you, like you're saying, it made such an impression on you that's probably why as I was watching you watch the parade, I could tell that you were doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have some pictures of watching the Magic Kingdom parades where, I kind of was lucky enough to get a picture of the faces of you guys as the things are coming down like that. That look of, oh my God, kind of thing. And that's what I remember about the parades. And this one was one of them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, in my Disney memory, also in Epcot, this is kind of an honorable mention that didn't make my list, but I felt like it was a bit small to make the list, I guess. But it was that fountain in Epcot that was like that main huge fountain that had all the shooting waters.
The music.
And every once in a while, they have like not like music with singing or anything like that, but have like dramatic music and the water would kind of it'd be like kind of like a little water show.
It was in sync. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that fountain, and we have photos in front of that fountain too, and that was one of my favorite fountains just to see, just because I obviously feel like I do a lot of water features on this podcast. I just love that fountain. I really liked it. And obviously that was taken down now since they're redoing that whole like front of Epcot, so it's no longer there. But that's okay though. I mean like the Journey of Water thing is going to be all water themed.
That fountain was one of those things that probably a lot of people didn't pay attention, because especially when you were leaving the park, people were all rushing to get out of the park.
Yeah.
And we would like kind of get there, and like that's when it was dark and the lights and the water and the music, and it was so much fun to watch it.
Yeah, well they do it even during the day too. I remember just like
it's not as impressive during the day as it is at night. But, at night it was just really impressive.
Yeah, but I did love that fountain as well. So I will miss the R.I.P. the fountain, R.I.P. that whole area, electric umbrella, all that stuff.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's right. The little electric umbrella was a nice little place to go get a snack.
Yeah, I know. It's like that's still the Epcot that will be my childhood. It's like I still remember walking under those triangle purple.
Notice Interventions didn't make our list either.
Interventions didn't make it. I did like Interventions. I feel like my brother liked Interventions.
Yes, he liked it more, I think, than you did. Yeah.
That's why I did Disney Quest, because it's like, oh, Luke would have for sure talked about Disney Quest, but he would have also for sure talked about Interventions. Or like remember
we used to spend a lot of time in Interventions.
Remember that future house in Interventions?
Yes, well, it's so not funny. I know. I was just
like,
talking about that the other day with somebody. I was like, we used to go to this future house in Disney. We thought it was like,
I know. It's like,
this
is the future.
Forget that. That's like old hat.
I know, right? It was like so quickly outdated. It's like, wow, that's crazy.
It was amazing.
But I do remember that house though. And some of the games we used to play too in there were fun. I did like Interventions a lot. But I do miss it though. Again, maybe we'll do whole deep dives into some of these things.
Oh God, there's so much. So much.
No, for sure. But thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of the podcast. Make sure you are following us on social media. We're currently Spaceship Earth Design. I will have a dedicated Instagram post for this podcast. So let us know, what do you miss that used to be in Disney that is no longer there? Or what is something that has been updated that now you're like the updated version? For instance, are you a huge Frozen Ever After fan and you're like, nah, Maelstrom was boring. It's like, I like Frozen Ever After better. Let us know, because I would love to hear. Or maybe other things that we didn't talk about that, that used to be in Disney. Again, there's so much that Disney has evolved over the years that, not everything is going to make between our top 10 lists. So we'll love to know. Make sure you give us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you are currently listening, because we are available on all podcast platforms. But thanks so much for listening this week.